We're going to move now on to our Monday Night Football game of the day. All of these lines are according to FanDuel Sportsbook. We've got the Vikings, who are 6-7, 2-5 on the road, visiting Chicago. The Bears are 4-9, 2-4 at home. With a win, Minnesota's playoff hopes can stay alive, while the Bears, well, there's pretty much no hope for the Bears at this point after seeing some postseason action last season. The Vikings also enter this game coming off a little extra rest, having played their last game on December 9th in a Thursday night showdown with the Steelers, snagging the win at home, 36-28. The Bears, meanwhile, are coming into tonight's Monday Night Football matchup off a loss to the Packers at Green Bay, 45-30. The lines go as follows. Minnesota right now is the 6.5-point favorite, with a total sitting at 44.5. Arky, how are you playing this one tonight?
Well, it goes to my long-standing theory. If you want me to trust Kirk Cousins, you have to make sure that he stays on the bench forever. That's the only way I can trust him in one way or the other. He's, again, one of these guys that he can get up a few touchdowns on you and then let them come right back. And it's not all his fault, but he does throw a couple of bad interceptions, including against the Steelers, as you were alluding to that game a couple of weeks ago. I shouldn't throw money after a bad team. That's sort of one of the big omens and the big things there in sports betting. Don't throw good money after bad teams. And the Bears are a bad team. However, they're not dead, right? Like, they still keep continuing to play, as you saw last Sunday night against the Packers in a division rival. They wanted to beat Green Bay, and they had their chances to be able to beat them, and they scored a lot more points than people were expecting. Minnesota is one of those teams that I could see Chicago giving some problems with. First of all, Chicago, their biggest feature is their running game. They're a top 10 running offense in the league. And that is a feature on the other side that has been struggling when you talk about the Minnesota Vikings. They're in the bottom, I think the bottom 5 in the league in rushing yard defense. So if Chicago's able to sort of maintain that side of the ball, a few play action passes here or there, you could see this to be a very tight game. And I feel like I get a lot more tight games than I get not tight games when it comes to Kirk Cousins as the quarterback. So this one comes down for me literally to the fact that the Vikings are playing. They give you exciting games when you don't expect exciting games, and they give you exciting games when you do expect exciting games. Everything's close with them. So I think we're getting another one-possession game here in division. So the 6.5. I don't love it. I'll just tell you now, I don't love it. But it's the only lean I can make right now is to go with the Bears plus 6.5 tonight.
Ooh.
Maybe buy it up to 7, but I'll wait. I think I can get that closer to 7, a little closer to kickoff. But this game to me feels like another hard-hitting, one way or the other, the Bears are going to be close to the Vikings, whether or not they're backdoor covering or they're actually close the whole game. Doesn't really matter as long as we're able to win. So I'll take the Bears plus 6.5 tonight.
All right. We are actually not aligned on this one. And I know you're not a huge Kirk Cousins fan, but I don't mind him, even though he is super stressful to watch. Despite the Vikings' average record, Kirk Cousins' numbers don't lie. Sure, he's 9th in yards at over 3,500 and 7th in touchdowns at 27. By the way, he's had at least one touchdown in every game they've played. He is also just 5 in interceptions on the season. With that, he has a 103.5 rating, putting him at 6th in the league, so it's not all terrible. Let's also not forget about the weapon that is Justin Jefferson, who is having himself a season with 85 receptions for nearly 1,300 yards, putting him 2nd in the NFL with 8 touchdowns. Justin Fields is back for Chicago after coming back after missing a few weeks with those broken ribs. In his first game back, he went 18 of 33 for 224 yards and rushed for 74 yards. So not too shabby, but not 100% either. And where the Vikings have Jefferson, the Bears have Darnell Mooney, who leads Chicago with 52 receptions for 740 yards and 3 touchdowns. As for these trends, the Vikings are 7-6 against the spread and are winless against the spread when entering the game as the 6.5-point favorite or more, while the Bears are 4-9 against the spread on the year and 1-7 covering when going in as at least the 6.5-point dogs. As it pertains to the total here, Minnesota has found themselves north of 44.5 in 10 out of 13 games this season, including their last 6 straight. So they're putting up points for sure. The Bears have seen this total in just 5 of their last 5 of their 13 games, but their last 3 back-to-back did not exceed this number of 44.5. I think the only way this total hits is if the Vikings do most of the heavy lifting, but TBD if the Bears decide to turn it on in primetime at home. And for what it's worth, the temperatures for this game are going to be chilly, around 34 degrees. So do with that what you will. No, thank you. I have seen enough to know I want to take the Vikings at -6.5. And if I were betting the total, I would lean the over. But again, with weather and Fields still not being at 100%, I'm just not feeling confident enough to take that. But I like the Vikings here, Arky. -6.5. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, I think the Vikings are winning. I don't think Kirk Cousins is a bad quarterback. He's a good fantasy quarterback. He's like Tony Romo used to be. He'd get you a whole bunch of numbers, but when he makes the mistakes, they're the awfully timed mistakes, and that's what I sort of worry about with Kirk Cousins. The numbers look good. It's just the timing of the mistakes that he makes is really, really bad.
That Romo comparison is actually really good.